I'm hot and ready.
He's
Like
hot.
that.
He's ready.
Little Caesars pizza.
Yeah, that's where I was going with Little Caesars right there. All right, everyone. Welcome to the GGG Podcast. I'm Paul, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Phil. We got a great show for you today. Lots of news coming out this week, including quite a lot of little main big stories that we are going to dive into. But before we do that, please make sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, or if you're listening to our podcast over on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, give us a follow or a subscribe over there as well. That would really help us out. All right, Phil, I've had time to play video games this week. As for yourself, have you had an opportunity since moving into your new podcast studio? Have you had a little reprieve? Tell me about it.
Oh, I've settled in, and I've gotten to revisit some old flaves. Flavor of the weeks, if you will.
Flavor Flaves.
Flavor Flaves. Specifically, let's see. I've been playing a lot of Dragon Ball Z, or Dragon Ball Fighter Z. One of my favorite fighting games. You just dip back into. I try to 100% S rank all the hard matches is where I'm at. I've been playing some Sifu, which is kind of like a fighting game in the terms of you need to have very specific timing set and down. That's been very exciting. And then I also got some time to play wait, come on, I know there's a third game in there. Where'd it go? I've been playing a lot of Magic Arena on my computer, and I've been playing some Magic in real life in a show that some of y'all might see in a couple of weeks. So
very cool. Very
the boy's been up to some stuff. What have you been playing, Paul?
Oh my goodness. I've gotten up to some new things this week. So we did our stream last week. It was a successful stream right on. So we played some Century Age of Ashes, which I believe we talked about on the show before, but it's a dragon flight dog fighting simulator. Which saying that together kind of sounds confusing, but dogfight, flying around and fighting.
I was gonna say think of War Thunder, but with dragons, and then I was like, War Thunder would have been a much better name for Century Age of Ashes.
Yes,
damn it.
Yes, not a straightforward title. So we played that, and then yesterday I finally gave Remnant 2 a try. So I started playing that game and. Happy I did so not on the stream because it takes so long to get through the tutorial. That was a slog. I mean, and not in a bad way. I had friends waiting on me, and I'm like, sorry guys, I can't go online yet. Gotta keep talking to people. Gotta go touch the crystal. That kind of stuff. So played a bit of that as well, and then I have recently gone back to Marvel's Midnight Suns, which is a strategy game. It's also a card game made by the people who made
XCOM.
I was going to say SOCOM. Thank you for correcting me. And so they made XCOM. I'm having a really good time with it. There's a DLC character pack that's come out that's encouraged me to get back into the game, and it has the first character is Deadpool, and then there's Venom, Morbius, and Storm, I believe. And so with the Wolverine and Deadpool trailer coming out, I was kind of like, I should probably go play that Deadpool DLC at some point. And I think, as well as people who are very into X-Men 97 currently on Disney Plus, if you're into X-Men 97, you will be into Marvel's Midnight Suns, because I think Marvel's Midnight Suns, is a great game. It's very campy. But if you like the camp, oh boy, will you have a fun time. So
I will say, I think X-Men 97's writing is substantially better. There's a degree of camp, and there's also some it's very video gamey in a really fun way, where it's just well, I gotta go do my chores, but I should go talk to Wolverine out in the training range. And then he's like, hey, bub, we gotta kill 6 demons to whatever. It's the perfect, silly marriage of all the things I love. So it was a really fun game. I gotta revisit that too. I've been thinking about it because it like popped up on PlayStation, and I've already got it installed on my computer. I'm like, this game's waiting for me.
It's a good game. Like there is a good amount of onboarding, learning the card game. But honestly, if you've ever been put off by XCOM before for being like too difficult, this is considerably easier than XCOM. And I think the most notable thing is just like all of your characters are superheroes, so like they don't miss when they attack. You're never gonna have like that XCOM or like Fallout
95% chance shot and then
and
just
then
a
miss.
right whiff. Yeah.
It's just like, what, he was right in front of me. How did you miss? He was point blank range.
You know what's pretty funny? I always played XCOM 2. I've played XCOM 2 so many times because I really love that game. But what I always do is like I make my characters themed after superheroes. So I'll have like the up close guy and I'll put him in like yellow and blue and call him like nickname him the Wolverine. It was really cool that they took that and were like, oh yeah, okay, let's make an actual superhero game. For Axis, I want an XCOM 3, but anything they do, I'm like, yeah, let's go.
Absolutely. I was when I first saw the trailer for it, I was kind of put off because I was like, this isn't a real Marvel game. This is crap. And then I enjoyed it anyway. So anyway. All right. Well, let's get into some game releases this week. So we have a surprise game release this week. Came out yesterday, the day before we recorded this podcast. And that is Hades 2. Just kind of dropped out of nowhere. We knew that it was coming out sometime this year, but they were just like, guess what? It's on Steam today, right now. Early access, but still feels like a pretty polished product. I haven't had a chance to play it yet. I don't think you have either, Phil. But
No,
are you excited for Hades?
I immediately hit buy as soon as I saw it today while getting ready for the podcast. I was like, oh yeah, I gotta have this.
Yep.
So next week I will have thoughts and feelings to share. I loved Hades 1, so I can't wait for Hades 2. I haven't really been following it. I've kind of kept myself in the dark because I was like, I know I'm gonna play this.
Right.
Why fool around? Just enjoy it when it happens.
Why be coy?
Why be coy?
Come on.
Just here's my money. Give me Hades. Yeah. You excited about this one, Paul?
I'm so pumped. I really love the first one. A friend introduced me to it, and I actually know the voice actor who voices Aphrodite in the game. So that's pretty cool. But I honestly like the gameplay, the art style, the roguelike storytelling in the first one was so good. I know it's hard to build upon a game that was so critically acclaimed and so successful, but from what I have been hearing, in grain of salt, but it seems like a classic good sequel, which is like they've been taking the foundation of what made the first Hades so good and just have added and added and added on to that. So I'm very excited to check it out, but yeah, I have not had the chance yet. So
nice. Well, in addition to that, there is another game from a similar perspective that I think we both have positive feelings about. That is also launched this week or is launching this Friday.
I believe it's launching this Friday. But it's already out. So it was an early access game, V Rising. We've talked about it a couple times on the podcast before. We both really like this game. It is a vampire it's a top-down vampire survival game where you can build a giant castle and you can play in public servers with people or do private servers. So it's a really good game, and honestly, I thought that it had already had its official launch, but this is its official launch. The IGN review went up today, and I was like, "Wow, I played this years ago." But all right, so
I mean, it's one of those games that I really loved when I played it, but I was like, "Oh yeah, this is clearly early access," so I'm excited to get back in and see all the little things they fix. I know I hit a point in the game where I was like, "Okay, it's starting to feel really grindy."
Right.
And that was when it was easy enough for me to step away and wait for the full release. The official release date is May 8th, so as of our recording situation, that will be tomorrow for us. So I'll see y'all in the vampire trenches if I'm not making my way through Olympus or wherever's going on with Hades again.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a big thing that I've noticed, because I actually played V Rising somewhat recently, I think like a month or two ago, and the big difference I think with this launch is just the customization when it comes to running a private server, because there are lots of tasks or processing things in the game that are timed for the server to always be on. And so it's like if you send like one of your pawns or your servants to go do something, it'll be like, he'll be back in 12 hours. And you're like, real world hours? What does that mean? Like, so, and obviously that's, made for a public server that's running all the time. And so the time goes by faster. But now you have complete control over your private server settings. And I think that's really nice. Going to give people who are more in it for, the survival element and not so much of the PvP element, a chance to really dig into it. So,
hell yeah. And there's one more release that I wanted to highlight this week. It released May 2nd on PC. It is a game called Indika. It's a kind of an indie game with a bunch of different interesting perspectives. The quick sell on Indika is you're playing a nun in the Dark Ages. You have to, I believe the game sort of like starts off with you hearing a voice inside your head that's narrating, and it says like, Indika raises from her sleep. She focuses on the menial tasks that she's doing to substantiate her faith. But then you realize that Indika, this nun you're playing as, can hear that voice. And as far as she can tell, it's the voice of the devil. And so she's trying to like figure out how to survive while also how to like deal with this voice and not like give away to her convent that she is being spoken to, because then they would clearly see she's a witch and burn her. Right. One of the scenes that I've seen is that like she's getting fed the sacrament or whatever, the Christ cookie, and when
the body of Christ,
the body of Christ, when the priest is handing it to her, it like turns into like this little cartoon guy and like tries to crawl into her mouth, and she tries to like bat it away. And then it goes back to reality, and it was just like the guy trying to put the thing into her mouth. Yeah, it's
really interesting.
If you're into that type of Judeo-Christian storytelling, and sort of like takes on that, man, seems like a really, really good time. So that is Indika on Steam. I know it's available as of right now.
Very cool. Very cool. Sounds like a very artsy game. How much is it going for on Steam, Phil?
Currently $22.49. That's on sale from its normal $24.99. So it's nice in that indie pocket of like, not a $60 game, not $10.
Like, 30 and under. So that's the sweet spot.
Good spot.
All right. Well, with that, we're going to get into the news. Lots of stuff to talk about. First and foremost, we had a little bit of Nintendo news in the way that Nintendo likes to do, where they tell us that they're going to tell us something, not now.
Please be excited.
I don't know if you've, me and my girlfriend, we watch a lot of cooking shows sometimes as like background TV, and they'll do the thing where it'll start the episode and then it'll do a preview of the episode in the episode. And it's just like, just start the I don't need to see what's going to happen. If you're just, don't give me a trailer and then show me the movie. Just show me the movie. So
I feel like that's one of the like old things from TV.
Yeah, where, like, don't change a channel because this is going to happen. That kind of
you're going to see Dutch blow up his oven or whatever,
Yes. So, but let's edit that out for streaming services. I'm done with it. I don't need spoilers pre-episode of what's going to happen. So
agreed.
But essentially, Nintendo had a very micro press release today, and what they did announce, so we did get some confirmation on, is that they are working on a successor to specifically the Switch. So this is going to be some sort of Switch 2. We don't know if it's going to be called the Switch 2, but it's not going to be a brand new device like the Wii or the Wii U or something. It is going to be something
iterative.
Something very similar to the Switch, successor to the Switch. So I think I don't know. What are your initial? Because that's really the only solid information we got out of this press release, other than the fact that they're going to comment more about it during Nintendo Direct in June, and then they're going to have their formal announcement supposedly April 2025.
Or at least before April 2025. That's the end of their fiscal year. So I think within this fiscal year they will talk more about the Switch 2. My thoughts on it are that I just feel so bored about the Switch 2. I'm gonna get it. Just honestly, you don't even need to tell me much. Probably just show it to me and I'll get it. I want to play new Pokemon.
There's Power World.
There's Power World. You're right. I've got new Pokemon already. No, I just don't know why they've been so hush-hush about it for so long. I'm guessing they've had a lot of, probably trouble figuring out exactly what to do. And maybe that's the result of things like the AROG Ally and the Steam Deck and now the PlayStation Portal existing. They're trying to find their niche. I'm confident that Nintendo will not do something unless they have a good reason for it. I say that, but I also remember the Wii U. So I take that back.
Yeah, I will compliment Nintendo about the Wii U in that they saw it wasn't working and they got out quickly.
True.
So they were think about the Wii U's life cycle. How many years was that the primary Nintendo console? Maybe 2 years, something like that. So I'm excited and mildly disappointed, but I can't grain of salt because I don't, we don't know that much. And so I think that the Switch is a phenomenal product, just from a consumer place. I think that Nintendo knows that its core audience is kids, and the best kind of device to make for kids is a device that a kid can have total agency over, where they don't have to have a TV in their bedroom. They don't have to be using the living room TV or the family computer or whatever. They can just have a Game Boy, which is essentially what it is. So I think that that's very smart business wise. I think it's kind of interesting what you said though, because it kind of implies that Nintendo waited so long because they were stuck deciding which direction are we going to do? Are we going to take a sharp left where we come out with a new idea and try to sell this new thing, or do we just stick to what we know is going to work? And it seems like they've landed on we're gonna go with the Switch 2. We're just gonna we know this works. We're gonna keep running with it.
Well, question for you, Paul. What features do you think they could add to the Switch 2 that would really differentiate it and make it obviously processing power, but what do you think they could do to make this new Switch something exciting, like when we all saw the commercial for the original Switch where they took the controllers off and started playing on their TV?
Yeah, that's a hard question because it's a good question, but first of all, we know the Switch 2 is not going to have the most technologically advanced specs. It's just not. That's never been Nintendo's strategy. They're not going to do that. And it's also going to be incredibly expensive to package that in a flooded market, essentially with all these mobile, platforms now. So I don't know. I really, honestly, my number one is them to figure out Nintendo Online. They need a revamp of that whole system. I feel like they are dated in how they operate their online operations, and I feel like there's untapped markets in kids playing online games. I think that Fortnite has that, and I don't think is Fortnite available on Switch.
It is.
It is. Okay.
Yes.
So, but I know that Nintendo's going to want some first party stuff that. So I don't know. I would like them to fix Nintendo Online as far as some sort of gimmick type thing. I really don't have any idea for what they could do, and maybe that's where they found themselves We're like, we don't know what we can do that's going to be more innovative than just like, oh, this is one cool little thing.
Yeah,
So
this one runs games decently.
do you have a wish list for like some feature or something like that?
Honestly, the what they could do that would really impress me, I think, like something that would kind of at least make gaming a little bit more like easy to do on the go would be like a projector thing. Like, instead of
Okay.
sitting like on the back of your Switch, you just like put it in front of the wall, pop the controllers off, and so you don't need a screen. It just reduces the stuff you need even more.
Oh.
I don't know if they have any ideas towards that technology, but I feel like projector screens have been like kind of on the edge of the market for a while. Like I know a lot of people who don't have a TV, they just have projector screens.
Right.
Might be an interesting take for Nintendo to be able to like, hey, entertainment wherever you want for you and your friends. So it's not like on a tiny screen that only you can have.
Yeah, I think that would be really cool. It kind of reminds me of those like Game Boy Advance or Game Boy Color like accessories that you'd attach to
Yeah.
it. So like maybe they'll sell that as an accessory. You plug it into the back of your Switch and it shoots out a projector.
That'd be
Something.
pretty cool.
Yeah, that would be pretty rad.
And of course a printer, a photo
Yeah,
printer.
and it should be able to make steak.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, like I don't think I have any. I want to talk about Nintendo more, and I feel like we really talk about like PC gaming and then Microsoft and Sony so much, but it's. I feel like that's largely been because Nintendo's at the end of their life cycle, and they've kind of been dragging their heels a bit on this release. So there's not.
Well, to their credit, I bet you they are gonna like pop off with a release, like with a new probably Mario Odyssey game, maybe the
Sure.
next Pokemon game will all be like Switch 2 releases. And if so, because they've been keeping quiet for so long, they might just have a bunch of like play their whole hand on release and be like, this is why you're buying a Switch 2. It looks better and it's got all the games that we make.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. So, all right, let's press right along. So we got a PSN Plus lineup for you. So some good games coming to PlayStation Plus. We just want to make you aware of them so you can download them for free instead of paying for them. So FIFA 24, I'm sorry, FC 24 is going to be
That's
coming
right.
out
There we go.
to PlayStation Plus, as well as Ghost Runner 2. This is the one that caught my eye, and I was like, ooh, we should mention this on the podcast because Ghost Runner and Ghost Runner 2 are very good games, especially for the low price of not paying for it. So,
I believe the previous Ghost Runner is on like the second tier of PlayStation Plus.
yes.
I know that I had the original Ghost Runner from some point in PlayStation Plus, so it's cool to see both parts of the story are on PlayStation. Like,
Absolutely.
you just get it.
And if you are a PC gamer and want to play Ghost Runner, I believe Ghost Runner 2 is on sale on Steam. I think it's like $12 right now. So if you don't want to
Yeah.
subscribe to anything, that you can go that route as well. So yeah, Ghost Runner 2. Then we have Tunic, very popular, very cutesy indie game, and last but not least, Destiny 2 Lightfall, releasing
Yeah.
their DLC pack on PlayStation Plus, which is very interesting. I guess trying to get you to buy the latest DLC pack, most likely.
I think they know that Lightfall was not that popular, and so like, listen, just get this, get ready for the final shape, whatever.
Yep, we'll just throw that one in the bargain bin for everyone.
Tunic, I know you talked about it a little bit.
Oh, please.
It is such a crazy game. Do you know much about Tunic?
I do not. No.
Okay, so Tunic, you play as this little fox. It's sort of like a Zelda-like on a 3D like sort of plane. You're kind of at different angles looking at it. But one of the things about Tunic is that the entire game is like has its own language, and you also find pieces of a manual for the game that's almost like in kind of like a kanji like Japanese language that you have to discern and like pick up different moves. And the game is like this really amazing mystery ball all wrapped within itself. It is like miles deep, this game. So for anyone who it looks like a very like fun, cute, like, oh, look at this little fox, but it is kind of speaks back to a time when games came with manuals, and like that time of youth where I don't know if you did. I got a few games like from Japan for I got Pokemon, I think Gold in Japanese, and I got a couple
Oh.
like games for the Sega Saturn that were in Japanese, and like looking through the little manual that came with it, try to like search for clues. This kind of evokes that very weird, like late '90s, early 2000s game feeling. So great game.
Right on. Right on. It
Yeah.
kind of sounds like a game my girlfriend would like. So maybe I'll run that by her.
Yes.
Right on. All right, I'm gonna do a little bit of jumping around here just to stay on topic. So, along with PlayStation Plus, there is a spring sale humble bundle. I love a humble bundle, and there's been a lot of great discounts. This humble bundle,
Hundo Bumble.
yes, humber. I can't do it. But anyway, so there's a lot of great games discounted here. So if you are interested in any of these, one I was talking about Marvel's Midnight Suns. You can get the Legendary Edition with all of the DLC, like what I was talking about, like with the Deadpool and Venom and Storm stuff. For the entire game is $25. A number of great games in here. Valheim is $10, which is half price. So many of the Fallout games are on sale. Fallout, the classic edition, is $5. Fallout 3 Game of the Year is $5. Fallout New
So
Vegas
good.
Ultimate is $6.59. Fallout 4 Game of the Year $15. Fallout 76 $8. Skyrim Anniversary Edition. All the Bethesda games are on here. So any other ones that actually here? There's another one. Deep Rock Galactic says it's $16.91 down from $51.26. That can't be right. That cannot be
Huh.
right. No,
Interesting.
no.
Maybe that's for all the DLC. I don't know.
Oh yes,
You know, it's
it's like packaged
it's
all the cosmetics.
maybe. Oh, it's the deluxe edition with
Right.
DLC bundle. Okay.
Okay.
A couple things that stuck out to me. Doom Eternal Deluxe Edition is down from $70 to $17. Dredge, Cyberpunk, the Ultimate Edition is just under the price of like the normal game. We've got No Man's Sky for $30. Outer Wilds, another sort of that's an Obsidian game. Obviously, something that we have a bit of a vested interest in this podcast. Valheim for $10 is a great deal. And if you want to play a a Fallout game that's not a Fallout game, Wasteland 3 Colorado Collection is a great like kind of return to the original Fallout games. And Slay the Spire and Inscription are both under $10, which is two great card games if you're interested in like card roguelikes,
Absolutely.
which they are excellent examples of. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of great games, a lot of great deals. If you're a PC gamer, definitely hit this up. So, yeah. All right, and then let's move right along. So we had a couple of like little Star Wars announcements. Not a lot of video game Star Wars announcements, or I thought there was a video game Star Wars announcement because we got a trailer for Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy, and I was like, oh, okay. It's another Lego Star Wars game, but it's like multiversing, and they're doing the multiverse spin on it. Very interesting. I'd love to check this out and play it. And then I find out that this is a Disney Plus 4-part TV show. And so how are we feeling? How are we feeling about that, Phil? What are your first impressions?
Okay, I think I definitely thought it was had to do with Fortnite because recently Lego Star Wars and Lego Fortnite kind of like crashed into each other, and there was plenty to do there. Fortnite's all about multiversal stuff, and I was like, oh, this is like the perfect transition between the two. It is not like you said, but I'm very interested in it based on one thing, and that is Darth Jar Jar. If they dig all the way in and make Darth Jar Jar the weird like meme that we all thought of a couple years ago into some form of canon, I will be very, very excited and I will watch this show. If they kind of like weasel out, and which I assume they're probably going to, I probably won't care as much. Although I do like the Lego properties, like even the Lego movie is great. Lego Batman's great. Even the things made directly by Lego tend to have a lot of fun and a lot of care in them. So, excited. I kind of wish that I could play through whatever this adventure is going to be.
Yes, I agree, but this is and a relatively easy cash grab, I guess. But like I like the Lego Star Wars aesthetic. Like you were saying with the Lego movies, I like that stuff as well. I love that they put Darth Jar Jar in there, and I'm sure we'll get some other meme references as well. So that's exciting. But yeah, kind of wish that this was like a game or something like that. But I just think that, as you said, with Fortnite already having a Lego Fortnite mode and combining that with Star Wars already, there probably isn't room in the market for another Lego Star Wars game. And honestly, how many Lego Star Wars games have we gotten over the years? Like, was it per episode? I mean, and then there was this like.
There was per episode in the Skywalker saga. I think like the prequels also got bundled together at one point.
Yeah.
Listen, would I play what is the Knights of the Old Republic in Lego? Yes, I would. So there's still some untapped potential.
I hope that's not the remake that they're working on. I hope.
Listen, if we get a remake at all, I don't care if it's Lego. It'll look better than it did.
I mean, in the press, they say they're still working on it. So that's a statement from a couple months ago. So that's some good news.
My eyebrows are like both down and up about this. Like,
yes, for real. All right, so moving right along, Homeworld 3, a personal favorite of mine. Why it made the list this week. So Homeworld is a spaceship RTS. It's a very old game, but obviously the third one, they just kind of similar to what Hades did. They were like, hey, we're releasing next week. And so they're releasing Homeworld 3 next week. So if you're into RTS games, particularly like with spaceships where you can have like frigates and destroyers, or you've seen those big giant space battles in Star Wars like we were just talking about, and you're like, I want to control all of those starships instead of just flying an X-Wing. This is probably the game for you. So I think it's a welcome game. Like I've talked about previously, there's not a lot of other RTSs on the market right now. And so I think it could potentially grab some market share. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I know you're not a big RTS guy, Phil. Does this game make you curious at all? I know a lot of people haven't heard of Homeworld before.
I've definitely seen Homeworld just like, on sales in the past, and I'm like, wow, this looks interesting. Mm-hmm. I think, again, like RTSs for me are something that I play for 12 hours one time and then I like never touch again.
Okay.
So I think this could be like, I'll probably pick it up on a future sale. But yeah, I think like the aesthetic and everything is something I'm very into, and like there's something really fun about, and this is what you said about the Shogun games, is just like seeing a battle and kind of over like calling the shots the whole time, but then zooming in on one specific piece of action and like seeing what goes down. Right. Really, really love that. So I think that would be fun to see. And I think I am feeling the craving for like a RTS or strategy game to like kind of ruffle my feathers. Like I said, I played XCOM 2 a lot. Probably one of my favorite games. Again, it's turn-based, but there's something about that, like, you can be a little clever and use your surroundings and a little lucky to get out of a scrape. And that's what I enjoy about, like, strategy games of that ilk. So if this can do some of that, I will be in at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like, I've got big expectations for this game. I got a gift from my dad, which was the remaster of the previous Homeworld games and their DLCs and whatnot. And I tried to go back to Homeworld 2 and play it a bit, but it's pretty old. And some of the systems that it's using they just haven't aged well. And so I'd really like to see Homeworld 3 launch and to have successful new kind of RTS implementation. And also I think a big thing that's just going to help with how technology has grown recently is like being able to have like so many ships on screen. and being able to zoom out. Usually a Homeworld, like if you're playing like a skirmish or something like that, or just like a basic battle, the battlefield is a solar system. And then you fight over that solar system. And so that's really cool to me. I love space battles and everything like that. And so if they're able to, implement some fun things and really update some of the core concepts of this game, I think it could be a banger. So very, very excited personally.
Hey, I love a space banger.
I love Space Banger. Gotta love it. All right, next up, we got Witcher 3. The official modding tool is coming out soon. It's supposed to be out at the end of this month. Now, I know what you're thinking. The Witcher 3 came out in 2016. Why are we getting this now? That's a good question. So 8 years later, but apparently this is what they have described as one of the most detailed modding kits that anyone has ever released to the public. In that they've made it into a slightly more user-friendly version of the toolkit that they use to design the game, and they give you the reins to basically change anything that you want in the game. If you want to play through, if you want to play through The Witcher 3 as Obi-Wan Kenobi, you could, if you put the time in, you could probably figure out how to do that. And you could switch out all of his voiceover lines for Ian McGregor. And, any interest in this at all? I saw this and I was like, what the hell is this? Why does this take so long?
You know what? I will say, again, it's puzzling. I am with you right there. Why now? But it doesn't even coincide with like a releasing of a new season of their show. Anyway, I'm sort of watching the video on the page that relates to The Witcher 3, and it's like PS5 upgrade, and it's like, oh, I kind of do want to replay The Witcher. This would be my third replay where I do not finish the game, but I get a little bit further in the story every time. But there's something really satisfying about that world, and I don't know. I'm not a big Mario Maker or I'm not that type of gamer where I need to make stuff. The closest I got was maybe Little Big Planet, but
yeah.
Now I'm just sort of just craft me something cool, let me play it, okay? Thanks. But I'm excited to see the mods that people will come up with and make some really cool Witcher-related stuff, because The Witcher has a lot of good things going for it.
Yeah.
So if someone does make an Obi-Wan Witcher, or just takes the bones and makes a Star Wars game, I would be very into that.
Right on.
Personally.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I kind of have the same reaction. It's like, this is cool. It's not for me. But I know that there are incredibly talented people out there who have the time and the patience to mod these things and to make the most out of them. And that's awesome. But yeah, when it comes to designing, games, I had some fun in Little Big Planet, had some fun in Dreams. But if it's not more of a streamlined thing, I just don't have the patience or experience to know what I'm doing. Unless I'm using somebody else's mod that they've already designed. So very cool. But yeah, I guess for hardcore Witcher fans out there, rejoice. We're probably going to get some Witcher mod memes by next month. So
nice.
All right, Phil. Well, this is kind of like a mini main topic. So why don't you ramp us into this, and we'll keep plowing through the agenda.
Well, I know that there are thousands of people who are going to be really let down by this news, but Redfall won't be getting any more updates. That's right, all 6 of you who have been continuing to play Redfall, you will not be getting the DLC that you were promised, and not the fixes that they said they would make when this game came out and flopped. That's because the studio that makes Redfall, Arcane Studios, who has made some incredible games like Dishonored 2, and Prey.
Yeah.
They were shut down by Bethesda I guess Microsoft, but Bethesda, or it was a Bethesda studio that was shut down by Microsoft.
Yes.
Which leads to our larger story. But before we get there, Paul, any feelings on this Arcane shutdown and this Redfall free fall?
I mean, I'm not surprised. Redfall was a complete flop. And it doesn't make me happy saying that. Like, I thought it was an okay game concept. Like, it was an alright pitch, but it just had zero execution. There were so many problems with the game. It was not ready to be released, and I'll be honest, it kind of pisses me off because this is kind of Microsoft's doing. Is like, I feel like they wanted a holiday game, and they're like, we got to release this in the Halloween window because it's a vampire
spooky vampire game.
And they weren't ready to release it, and they forced them to release it. And in the video games industry, if you have a bad release, you're kind of screwed.
Yeah. Unless you put in an infinite amount of money and time to make that game better.
Yeah, and then you're not going to probably make up the amount of money and time you put in because you only get paid that initial time unless you have some sort of microtransactions or seasonal content built into it. So I guess they did have a seasons pass, if I'm remembering correctly, for Redfall. I think it was like a hero pass or something like that. But there were supposed to be 2 DLCs that were supposed to come out, and they're not coming out. So that's kind of weird. I wonder if there are people who bought the DLC and are going to be able to be refunded or whatnot.
I would like to think that, but I think those people have long let go of their money.
Yes. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I blame Microsoft for this. It's like, if you force a company to release early with a game they're not ready to release, and then be like, well, your game failed. You kind of set them up for failure. And going along with the other companies that, I guess, I don't know. Do we want to get into the other companies that Microsoft got rid of?
Let's dig into it. Microsoft shut down a total of 4 studios, all that were under the Bethesda sort of like framework, so they were acquired with Bethesda. Arcane Austin, Tango, who else was on their chopping block? Alpha Dog and Roadhouse Games.
Yeah, so Roadhouse will merge with ZeniMax Online Studios. So I'm sure that people will lose their jobs, but it's not the entire company, so that's good. And then Tango Gameworks, most notably for a game that you love talking about quite a bit, Hi-Fi Rush.
Yeah, excellent game.
Yeah, it was very surprising to me that I wonder what it was that they were working on that Microsoft was like, no, I'm good. So this
Hi-Fi Rush definitely felt like one of those games that was like going to be the one game, and then it was really good. We'll never see anything like it again. You know?
Yeah. I guess. Yeah, that's true. But then also, I know that the people made Mighty Doom. I brought this up before we started recording, but like, a Mighty Doom is a mobile game. It's a Doom-based mobile game. I really like it because it's kind of a casual mobile game, which is when I'm looking for mobile games, I want something casual. I don't want a big convoluted story, to play on my phone. I know that other people, have different preferences, but that's just mine. So I don't know. This sucks. There's been a number of layoffs happening over the last year, I'd say. And so more layoffs happening isn't great. I'm curious about Microsoft's strategy here because I've talked about this on the podcast before. Microsoft loves buying companies and then gutting the companies and then being like, well, it never went anywhere. And so, like, I understand, Bethesda, like with their Prime games, like their Elder Scrolls games, their Fallout games, and Starfield and everything like that. They're going to continue and they're going to go on. But we were kind of hoping that the acquisition of Bethesda and the influx of money from Microsoft would make it so that there would be more games coming out. And
when they'd be free to do what they wanted,
Yeah, and like obviously whenever there's an acquisition, like something always ends up getting cut. But 4 studios is quite a bit. So I'm disappointed, honestly.
Yeah, no, I agree. I can't remember where I heard this. I was browsing Reddit earlier today, as I said, I've heard about this news, and I was trying to like dig parts out of it. Um, there was some source said this was allegedly to bring games like Fallout and Skyrim, like the next Elder Scrolls, the next Fallout, like they're just sort of coalescing around, or Bethesda around those two properties, and helping them just produce those faster, because a new Fallout game in what 28 or to 2032 or whatever is such a crazy concept for the heat they've built up right now and will have ideally with the next couple seasons of their show. And just, Elder Scrolls in general having come out in 2011, is that right?
Yes.
Skyrim?
Yeah,
So
Skyrim
that's
was 2011,
been
yeah.
13 years and still no word or a peep of what the next Elder Scrolls game will be. That's not an online version. So, if that is their plan, I still think this sucks, but I also think, okay, well, that's maybe the right move. Like, go back to basics and build the thing that we want, and bring talented people from all over. Like, if you can get the mobility people who worked on Arcane games to come do this, and some of the design people from Tango who made Hi-Fi Rush look so beautiful, like, and can get them to work on Fallout, a system that we know has kind of been ailing,
Yes.
especially with the creation engine. And I think I heard something from Todd Howard in an interview talking about how Starfield wasn't a hit because it just wasn't Fallout,
Just
or
don't. No.
yeah,
No.
because it wasn't Fallout, or it wasn't Elder Scrolls,
People aren't
and
used to it. We did something different, and people got scared. That's not the problem,
it's not.
Todd.
It's not the Todd. The problem was that I had to open up my menu and go to land on a planet when I can land on that planet in so many other video games.
Yes. The problem is you didn't give me a dune buggy, but you had a mission that made me go to the moon, our moon on Earth, where you had us walk through a museum of dune buggies. And there's no dune buggies in the game. And even with the May update next week, it's not coming out. All right, that's it. Keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, no. I think that's like, at least it shows that they're like, yeah, we got to make Fallout and Elder Scrolls games, which is, I think, the correct take, because they need to get back to basics. They've been making all of these games for a while that have kind of, been hits, but nothing as big as those. And to make us wait till like 2030 for the next iteration of those games, I don't know if Bethesda can last that long, because we're all kind of getting sick of their nonsense. But,
Yeah. And I think you make a great point. If this is the strategy with Microsoft, if this is like, hey, we're cutting the studios because we need to take people and resources and put them into the franchises like Elder Scrolls and Fallout, so they don't have a 20-year, building cycle. Like you just said, last Elder Scrolls came out 13 years ago. This is ridiculous, and we have we haven't seen footage of. We've just gotten a title, and spoiler alert, they added a number. Like, so they went up one number. Who would have thought?
Bold choice, Todd.
Yep. And so, I do want Bethesda to improve all of their games, and Fallout's has a ton of success right now. Perhaps this could be tied to the show's success, like you implied, where they're like, hey, we need to put money in Fallout because people like it. So I hope that that's the strategy. Still, hearts out to people losing their jobs, and you will be missed, and hopefully you get something else.
Yeah, something better.
Something better. All right, so let's get into our main topic. We're running out of time, so we got to go quick. On Friday,
good news is the whole thing that we're going to cover happened very quickly. So
yes, but we're still going to talk about it. We're going to still talk about it because it went crazy for like the last 3 or 4 days, and so on Friday morning, I want to say, which was May 3rd, on Friday morning, Sony released a statement. They put it up on the Helldivers Steam page, as well as they put it up on their Discord. And it essentially said, hey, we are going to make everybody link, or people playing on PC, you have to link to a PlayStation account so that we can do our banning process, or protect players from griefing, and then also give players who have been banned a right to petition. It's very run-of-the-mill administrative server work. And they said if you do not make a PlayStation account before this time, then you will be cut off from playing the game. And the internet went crazy. And so the big thing that people brought up were like, what about PlayStation Network, or countries that don't have access to PlayStation Network? And like, that's a great point. That would obviously be ridiculous if you bought a game on Steam and then Sony was like, you can't play the game anymore. That would be crazy. However, Sony never officially said that in their statement, so a lot of it was kind of speculative of what people or what they think Sony is going to do. So I was pretty charged emotionally about this. So on Friday, I took to our TikTok and I posted my thoughts about account linking and making and everything like that. And essentially what I said was, I know that making another account sucks. But it's 2024, and that's how literally everything works. Is you got to make an account, you got to sign up for the thing. Like, I thought it was so funny that last week Sea of Thieves came out for PlayStation 5. But if I bought Sea of Thieves on PlayStation 5, after I downloaded it, I would have to log into a Microsoft account in order to go online. And so it's like, it's just like the same thing. If you play Halo Infinite, you got to log into your Microsoft account, even though if you download it through Steam. Ubisoft, you got to log in for Rainbow Six, like all of this stuff. So obviously, if people lose access to games, that's not right in any capacity. But I felt like this was a complete overreaction. What were your thoughts, Phil?
I definitely do feel for the people in like countries where PlayStation Network isn't supported, or doesn't let people play. So I think you could still do it. I think it would just require, and I know you said this isn't like something that was necessarily going to happen, but I think like if you couldn't list like where your country was or where you were playing from when signing up for PlayStation, there might be some issues. I've never had to deal with it, so I can't speak to it, but people were very concerned about it. I think that would suck, because then it would mean like you have to get a the Surfshark VPN. You have to get a VPN. So right. I had to listen to podcast advertisements in my head.
Yeah.
You had to get a VPN to play this game that you're already playing. And that is the thing that I mostly understand. That having to like now pay a monthly fee to play Helldivers would be annoying.
Right.
That said, I saw a cartoon that kind of like illustrated the point. It was like a cute little cartoon alligator. There's like a new game. I'm so excited to play this. And they're like running home. They get home and they put the disc in their console, and it says like, you must make an account. And they go, I don't want to play this game anymore. Like, I think if having to sign up for an account kind of like ruins your excitement for something, and again, a PlayStation account, like it's a free PlayStation account. It's something that you can do like relatively easily. You just need an email address, and nothing will necessarily change for you. I don't really see what the downside is here.
Yeah.
I get that people don't want to have like accounts. Actually, I don't get that. I don't get why that is, but I know that people don't want to have accounts to things. They don't want to have to make a free Gmail to use for an email account to make an account. So yeah, I think it was a pretty crazy overreaction, but I do think what Sony and Arrowhead did in response was the right move.
Yeah, and so on Sunday night, so this only lasted like two and a half days, maybe. It didn't even make it through the whole weekend. I think that was Sony's biggest error is that they put this out on a Friday, because if they
Yeah.
put it out on a Thursday, they would have responded to it on a Friday.
Yeah.
But instead, they put it out on Friday and like, no, we'll get to it on Monday. And then the heat got so bad that they're like, no, we'll just release something.
We got to do it now.
Yeah. And so they essentially completely reversed it. They're like, just kidding. We're not going to make people sign up for PlayStation accounts and link them to their Helldivers accounts. We're not going to do that. And I believe the statement was like, this has been invaluable, which, I don't know about that. But the thing that I did not touch on yet, and I guess the thing that made me very angry, and the reason that I post that video, was just that people had taken to downvoting Helldivers on Steam, as well as demanding refunds for the game. And to me, like, that is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like I get it, well, I don't get it that much, but it's like, if you don't like Sony, that's one thing. But it's to downvote Helldivers, and like, Helldivers is far and away the best multiplayer game of 2024. And I really don't see anything in the latter half of the year, dethroning it. And it's like, we have the best multiplayer game, and you're going to say that it's garbage. And I particularly got annoyed because I saw streamers and YouTubers, people with large followings who had played over 100 hours of Helldivers, and they were demanding a refund after playing 100 hours of the product and saying that it's amazing. And like, that got under my skin. Like, oh my God, like, we're complaining a little bit too much, people. Like, so again, go for it.
To their credit, the mostly negative reviews on Steam seem to have gotten a reaction.
Yeah.
I will say that is like, that does seem to be at least in this case, it does seem to be an effective tool for consumers to voice their dissatisfaction with something.
Right.
Demanding refunds, all this stuff. And we saw this with like the day before. We saw this with just a bunch of games that pop out on Steam that are false advertising or whatever.
Right.
It gets, and I don't think Helldivers deserves it for sure. Like, I could never see those mostly negative reviews and think that is indicative of a person's time with the game, but just their dissatisfaction with the company. And I feel like that's the only way they can really like express that, if they don't have a platform, like their platform is negative reviews.
Totally. Like, I'm glad that they band together to do something, and that Sony listened. But I guess the reason that I kind of came to the defense of like account linking and whatnot is like, look, I have no illusions of Sony's being a corporate entity, and like, could they do their administrative server work with Steam, with Valve, instead of running it their way on the PlayStation Network? Yeah, but like, they probably wanted to do this because like, hey, we can add a bunch of users on PlayStation. I have no illusions that was part of the angle of what they were doing.
I think it was going to look great for them in some sort of board meetings. Like, look, we've got 1 million new players because we invested in Arrowhead.
Yeah. But I also think the reason that I came to the defense of it was because this game, Helldivers 2, has been the first cross-play PlayStation game that is released at the same time. And Sony's never done this before. And so this was their first try into it. And what I want from Sony is, I want them to come out with more games that are crossplay, more PC ports that are released at the same time, as opposed to like, oh, you're going to get God of War Ragnarok a year after its official release, or Horizon a year after, or Ghost of Tsushima a year after. And I feel like this reaction from the community might, dampen their goals a little bit of like, do we really want to release it on PC? We had that incredibly negative reaction. Why don't we just do what we've been doing, where we do this delayed release? And I think that's worse for games in general, which is why I was pro the account linking. So,
I'm with you there, and I think that like people were over dramatic about this situation.
yeah.
This is not the type of thing that I would rate a game negatively for.
Hmm.
This is also like, yeah, I think it was mostly a numbers thing for Sony, and just seeing how easy it was for them to reverse it does make me think like, okay, this was kind of silly, and like this was for no reason.
Right.
But really who I felt the worst for was the developers over at Arrowhead, who made a really amazing game,
Yeah.
and then like a corporate decision from Sony kind of put that in jeopardy. And I am very happy, at least to report, that it seems like Sony and Arrowhead came to an agreement. It probably communicated a lot. I'm guessing a lot of rushed emails and phone calls were made of like, please don't do this. Like, this
Right.
game is buying us so much goodwill as a company.
Hmm.
So seeing that reverse is great. I think it's sort of like, I think it is a win for Sony, and it shows that they kind of don't need people. They don't need this. They don't need the account link, and they don't need that to work as long as they just keep putting out good games for people to play on Sony platforms and hopefully PC in the future.
Well, I maybe, but I do know that Ghost of Tsushima for the PC is coming out, and they will be launching with a PlayStation account link requirement.
Oh, interesting.
So the difference being is that it will be from launch, whereas in Helldivers you are allowed to not link it, and then because it came out back in February, so it's been out for 3 months, and now you got to link the account. So I think that's where people got triggered, I guess. So I also, on a personal note, I do think this is some like PC gamer master race stuff coming into play, where it's people who are like, I don't want to stoop down to the level of creating a PlayStation account because a PlayStation account is for console users. And I think that's ridiculous. Like, again, if anybody was going to lose access to playing the game, like, that's absolutely wrong, and Sony should be held accountable for that. But I mean, there was actually a statement from the lead at Arrowhead that he said that Sony had told him that no one would be losing access to the game, and that he had been assured that that was happening. But that didn't really get a lot of attention because people were
People were already,
yeah.
they were geared up and angry already.
Yeah.
That is interesting. I think it's, it's always tougher to take something away from people, quote unquote,
Yes.
to launch without it. So hopefully Ghost of Tsushima people will know going in. And personally, I kind of love it when my accounts are linked. Like if they went a step further and I could cross play between the two games on like two different consoles, I would be very, very happy. Like, I don't know. I'm a big fan of like parity and stuff.
Sure.
And if I had like my games all in one big library, I would be very, very happy.
Yeah.
But alas, that is not the world we live in yet.
Yes. No, it is not. So, but yeah, I'm glad that drama is over. I hope, Arrowhead and Sony and the people who were upset by it are able to move on. And I also know that, our opinions that we've voiced in the podcast are a little against the grain because a lot of the internet was enraged. So we appreciate you hearing us out if you stuck around to listen to that. So, but with that, Phil, we are at time. We are going over time. It's a long episode because all the news this week.
Stuff actually happened this week.
Yes, stuff did actually happen, and hopefully will
How
continue
exciting.
to happen. Yes. So with that, thank you for listening to the GGG Podcast. If you enjoyed our podcast, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, as well as subscribing to our audio-only version over on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. We also, as we mentioned earlier in the podcast, we did a Twitch stream, so you can also find us on Twitch at Golden Glazed Gaming. So check that out if you are a Twitch patron, I suppose. So yes, any last little thoughts to leave us to end the podcast with, Phil?
I will be getting the new War Bond.
As will I. but I don't have to pay for it because I earned the in-game currency enough that I don't have to pay for it because Arrowhead is awesome.
Hell yeah.
So that's pretty cool.